Welcome to Leadership Moments.
In every great leader's life, there are pivotal moments that shape their character, test their resilience, and awaken their vision.
Together, we'll uncover the invaluable lessons hidden within these transformative moments.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Leadership Moments. Today, we're diving into something that is redefining the way we work, the gig economy.
Yeah.
The gig economy, it's not just for freelancers, it's not just for rideshare drivers, it's reshaping executive roles, workforce dynamics, and even the very concept of leadership. Stacey, we're here together. It's so exciting. So let's kick this off with just a simple definition. Can you explain to everyone in our audience, what is the gig economy?
Yeah. At its core, the gig economy is a labor market, and it's characterized by short-term contracts, freelance work rather than permanent jobs. And it's not just impacting entry-level roles like we've traditionally known it as, right? It's transforming how leaders and executives approach their careers.
Yeah.
So, leaders now, they have the opportunity to what's called a portfolio career, where they take on multiple roles. So you can be consulting for one company, you can be a board on another, you might even be mentoring startups, all these things combined.
Yeah. So, it's not just flexibility for the workers, right? It's also a shift in mindset for leadership.
Yeah.
And according to the recent research, which was from Ivy Executive and Forbes, it's not just a trend.
Right.
It's a fundamental transformation. And actually, they're predicting that by 2025, experts predict that nearly 50%,
Wow.
50% of enterprise work will be performed by contingent workers, independent contractors, the gig economy professionals. So, all right, Stace, let's get real, all right? This isn't a walk in the park.
No.
Okay. What are some of the challenges that leaders are going to face in this new paradigm?
Yeah. So first of all, let's just pause on that stat for a second, right? Half of the workforce could be gig economy, right? And then when we think about how does it shift, right? It's not just, it feels easy.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to do a little bit of here and a little bit there. But it's really a good question, because leaders navigating the gig economy, they must balance flexibility with uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have the traditional role where
Right.
you have a steady paycheck. Gig work requires strong financial planning
Yep.
and the ability to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
On the organizational side, though, as well, HR practices, they need an overhaul to integrate these gig workers effectively.
Yep.
We think about half the workforce, you're going to have to hire gig workers in order to be able to maintain your organization. So maintaining that compliance across jurisdictions and ensuring that everyone feels valued, whether they're a permanent team member or they're a gig worker as well.
That's right. And, for me, this raises a lot of questions. I've actually been getting, in my new role, I've been getting a lot of like, hey, I'm a fractional CMO. Hey, I'm a fractional CIO. Like, I've been getting a lot of that. And, while in certainly startups, that's very attractive.
Yes.
Right? The question becomes, what value are they bringing? And are they actually going to help execute? Because, startups need execution, not just strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's pieces there, but, just speaking of HR, you spoke about HR. Let's unpack that for a little bit. For leaders that are managing the gig workers, okay, the traditional performance metrics might not apply.
Right.
So back to what I was just talking about, okay? They have to approach, managing and motivating that gig talent, but they've also got to focus on project-specific outcomes rather than long-term metrics, because these people are on project work.
Yeah,
if you want to call it that, short-term work, right? Communications become critical, setting clear expectations become critical, the regular feedback, the recognizing contributions are essential.
Yeah.
And then gig workers, again, not permanent, but they have the ability to have a lasting impact on the organization. And I say if, they're integrated effectively.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the problem.
Right.
For sure. And it leads to an interesting distinction. So leading gig workers versus traditional contractors, how do these two approaches differ?
Yeah. And that's one thing when I read about this too and was learning about it, was like some of the explanation of how to integrate these gig workers felt pretty similar to a traditional contractor and how you integrate them.
Right.
And so it's a really great topic and thing to ask about. So with gig workers, the emphasis is often on providing maximum flexibility and autonomy. They chose gig work for a reason because they need that flexibility and autonomy in that short-term work. So you have to remember that. They value control over their schedules and they thrive on clear, outcome-driven tasks.
Yeah.
So it's not just come in and we'll figure out what you're going to do. You have to be extremely clear what they're coming in and doing with you.
Yeah.
So to remember that. Right. And then, leaders need to focus on enabling their success by giving them the tools that they need up front. You can't, time matters.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure they have everything that they need the day one that they're going to walk in and start doing that work. Well, they're being less involved in the day-to-day management as well. It's kind of, here's your thing, go do it, and let them have the autonomy to go do it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with that. Now, traditional contractors, on the other hand, they often have a more formalized engagement.
Exactly.
Right. They may have work for longer durations on site, or they're working alongside full-time employees. Their leaders might expect them to integrate more deeply into the company culture because they're still considered sort of quasi, not full-time, but the same requirements are expected of them, if you want to call it that. And there's typically more oversight compared to the gig workers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Traditional contractors are often evaluated not just on their deliverables, but also their collaboration with teams and adherence to the company protocols, where gig workers won't necessarily have that. By contrast, they're more transactional.
Right.
They come in to accomplish a specific project and their value is judged purely on results with the gig worker. Right. So it's subtle, but it's an important difference, especially for leaders to understand on how to lead through both situations, because misapplying one approach to the other can create tension and reduce efficiency. You got to know what you're
Totally. So really the key takeaway for leaders, certainly in our audience today, is that both gig workers and traditional contractors bring unique value, right? But they require different engagement strategies. And I think that's really the point we're trying to make here. So for gig workers, prioritize flexibility and efficiency, right? For traditional contractors, it's leaning more on the collaboration, it's the alignment with the company values, it's integrating them into those teams that they're working with. And what about integrating gig workers, full-time employees? How do leaders bridge the gap there?
Yeah, really good question. Inclusivity is key, right? Inviting those gig workers to team events, involving them in professional development opportunities, and acknowledging their contributions along the full-time staff, it can create a cohesive environment that you want to be able to do. Even if they're there short-term, you still want to do those things.
Yes, of course.
Right? Because it's about fostering that collaboration and ensuring that gig workers feel like they're part of the team, even if the team with the organization is a short time that they're there. So, it's a great segue into the benefits of the gig economy for leaders themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear from you. What opportunities does the gig economy open up for executives?
Yeah, look, there's so many. I mean, even as you were going through this, I'm thinking in my head, just how this is all transpired, for example, right? But, for one, portfolio careers allow leaders to diversify their skills and experiences. That's really important.
Yeah.
Working across industries, working across various projects, helping executives stay passionate, stay engaged. Many of the workforce today, I mean, so many people that I've spoken to that will be considered in their sort of baby boom era, they're not ready to leave the workforce. They are still stimulated. They love business. They want to give back. They want to have impact.
So true.
But they just don't want to work 40, 50, 80 hours a week, whatever that might look like, right? So, leaders can have those focus on the roles that core to their values. They're creating professional fulfillment. It's a healthier work-life balance. And let's not forget innovation, right? So gig opportunities expose cutting-edge trends, right? And new industries. For instance, someone with a background in traditional finance might consult on blockchain projects. Okay.
What a great opportunity.
It's a chance to stay relevant and competitive and, in a rapidly evolving market. And I think of a very recent example where I know a CEO who just hired a recently retired executive from a very, very large organization to help them head up their AI, because in that old role, they were doing AI strategy as part of that long-term innovation within the organization. So that's a perfect example.
Yeah, absolutely. But leaders need to prepare, right? Because personal branding, for example, it becomes crucial.
Oh, yeah.
Leaders must market themselves now as experts and build a reputation that attracts these opportunities.
That's right.
So it's less about climbing the corporate ladder and more about creating a dynamic career path.
That's right. And let's talk some practical advice. If there's anyone in our audience today, if you are a leader and you're listening, think about dipping your toes, and you are thinking about dipping your toes into that gig economy, either as a participant or as someone hiring. Let's talk about what should some of those first steps be.
Yeah. So I would say, for leaders that want to participate, right, start by assessing your skills and your passions. We talk a lot about that.
Yes, we do.
Your passion is the most important thing, because if you don't care, you're not going to do well.
That's right.
So, and then what value can you bring to different industries or projects? Don't think about, this is the only industry I've been in, so this is all I can help. No, you actually have a lot of value by bringing in that expertise in a different industry.
That's right.
So update your LinkedIn, build a strong personal brand that we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
And if you're hiring gig workers, first reevaluate your HR practices.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Make sure your contracts are flexible and project focused, and invest in the tools that enable collaboration and communication. Like, we are used to, in corporate world, hiring long-term contractors. We are not used to hiring gig economy workers.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you right now, I guarantee there's a lot of policies out there that are not structured for that. So you have to take the time to be able to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Right? So are they designed for the static, full-time workforce, or a dynamic, project-based ecosystem is kind of what you want to think about. Right? And second, invest in technologies and training that support remote collaboration and asynchronous work, right? And then third, develop more flexible project-specific contract modules that provide clarity and security for both the organization and the worker. It has to work on both sides.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the other thing that made me think about is, for these executives, think about them, they're your SWAT team.
Yeah.
They're your SWAT team, right? You gotta hustle, competitive market, you got innovation coming. AI is a perfect example of that. Bring them in as part of that SWAT team. Short-term contract, but they're gonna have a massive impact, very short period of time. They're gonna help you make sure that you get, you leapfrog and you lift right off the ground. And that's really how you should think about that. But Stacey, that's really good advice. Really good advice, because the HR piece is huge.
Huge.
Right?
And it's going to take time.
It's going to
depending on how large a corporation is.
That's right. So really good insights. And as we wrap up, the most important message for leaders listening today is that the gig economy isn't a passing trend.
Right.
Think about all the layoffs we've had. Number one, think about all the baby boomers exiting the workforce who are not ready to retire. There's a lot of companies offering retirement packages, right, which makes sense for some executives to take, but they don't want to leave the workforce. So it's fundamental that we're reimagining work itself.
Yeah.
And leaders who adapt, who see this as an opportunity for innovation rather than a challenge to be managed, will be the ones who thrive.
100%. Couldn't agree more. All right, that's it for today, but thanks for joining us as we explore the gig economy and the impacts on leadership. Don't forget to subscribe to leadershipmomentspodcast.com and leave us a review if you enjoyed today's episode. Let us know what else you want to hear in the future.
Yeah, so until next time, keep leading with impact. Bye for now.
And that concludes another episode of Leadership Moments. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights in what we shared today. Remember, leadership is not defined solely by titles or positions, but by the choices we make and the moments that shape us.
Embrace the challenges that come your way, for they may be the very moments that propel you toward greatness. We'd love to hear your thoughts and stories as well. Connect with us on our website at leadershipmomentspodcast.com or through social media on Instagram at Tracy_Ann Palmer.
And Stacy Castor _. Remember, your leadership moment could be just around the corner, waiting for you to seize it. This is Stacy Castor, and what doesn't challenge you won't change you.
And this is Tracy Ann Palmer. And be the change you wish to see in the world.